So Nike today revealing 8 rivalry uniforms for the 8 teams in both the AFC East and the NFC West. We're going to show you the NFC West because that's what this segment's going to be about. I
have yet to be impressed.
I like those 49ers.
Those are cool.
The font is great. The font is what makes it. I don't mind the Rams.
You're a big jersey snob.
Huge jersey snob. I'm not a big fan of the Cardinals there. I don't know what that is.
Boring.
Looks like there's bird crap all over them or something. Maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe that's what they're going for. Biggest questions for NFC West teams post-camp with Mike Renner and John Breech. We're going to begin with the 49ers. Interestingly enough, all of the other teams are going to be wearing those jerseys against the Seattle Seahawks. You get to wear them once per year, and you have to do it in the division. Breech, you're going to lead us off here, and your question for the Niners is, I think, the question that probably every 49ers fan is asking going into the season.
Can this team stay healthy, Chris? That is the biggest question. Last year, the answer to this question was no. This year, it also feels like it's tracking to be no. You look at what happened in training camp. I'm not even sure who they're going to line up at receiver in week 1. A big reason they had to go on trade for Sky Moore is because one of your top receivers from last year was Juwan Jennings. He's dealing with a calf injury, a little disgruntled over his contract. You have Jordan Watkins, who's dealing with an ankle injury. And, of course, we know Brandon Ayuk, their number 1 receiver, probably not going to be back until October because he's dealing with the ramifications from the ACL, MCL tear he suffered last season. So this team is extremely beat up right now, and the season hasn't even started. And when you look at last season, that's when things fell apart. Christian McCaffrey missed 13 games. Brandon Ayuk missed 10 games after suffering that devastating injury. Trent Williams missed 7 games. So when you have these big-time players missing all these games, it's tough to recover. The thing, though, is if the 49ers can stay healthy, if George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, if you have that core that can stay healthy, this team has the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL, so they certainly could be a surprise team that could walk away with the NFC West title if everyone can stay healthy. But, Chris, I don't know if everyone can stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm looking at this front 7 because it wasn't just the health last year. It was the fact that they kind of lost a lot from that Super Bowl team. Guys that were big impact players, especially in the front 7, whether it's Dre Greenlaw, whether it's Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, they're not walking through that door anymore. And they didn't go out in free agency. They didn't have the money to spend and backfill. So what they did was they drafted 4 guys in the first 4 rounds to go and try to be impact players in this front 7. Guys like Micah Williams in the first round, Alfred Collins at defensive tackle in the second round, Nick Martin at linebacker in the third round. It's just how ready are these guys going to be? Because if they're not, if they look like rookies out there right out the gate, not only is this defensive front 7 still going to be bad, not only is their run defense still going to be bad, it could even be worse than what we saw last season.
Niners are the slight division favorites right now. It's close. The Rams are around 2-1. The Niners are plus 180 or so. With the Rams, you can't question Sean McVay. He's always got his team punching above their weight class. But, Mike, how do you not ask about the aging Matthew Stafford and his back problems?
It's what you got to see to believe first, because if a guy can't even practice, if it's so bad your back that you can't even practice, you can't even just throw on air, what's it going to be like when a 350-pounder lands on top of you week 1? I mean, I am worried about him making it through a full season healthy, and we've seen in the past, now they have Jimmy G. Maybe it's a little bit better of a backup situation, but we've seen in the past when they've had injuries along the offensive line or injuries at quarterback, it just has not been good there in Los Angeles. So if he, not a lot of people used to have a bad back. Usually it's something that sticks with you, and if he takes too many hits this year, I don't know how we see him getting through 17 games healthy given the information we have now.
Well, Mike, the good news is when we were looking at those rivalries jerseys earlier, Matthew Stafford was modeling that black one for the Rams. So he was healthy enough to pose for those pictures. I think that's a good sign, right? But as you said, you hit the nail on the head here. It is the back, and a back injury can just be so perplexing because they can flare up at any point. And you mentioned what's it going to be like when a 350-pounder falls on top of him. Well, that's a big thing to consider here, is that Matthew Stafford has not been hit yet. He missed most of training camp, returned to practice, didn't play in the preseason, so he hasn't taken any hits. He's not going to take a single hit until week 1, and with that first hit, who knows how his back is going to react. So that's one thing that the Rams have to certainly watch closely, and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to be standing ready to go because you don't know when Matthew Stafford could get down and maybe not be able able to get back up due to that back injury. So if he makes it through 17 games, this team is absolutely a Super Bowl contender. We saw him win the division last year, but if Stafford is dealing with that back issue all season, they feel like a long shot to win the NFC West.
I mentioned the Rams and all the other teams are wearing those rivalry uniforms against the Seahawks. The Seahawks, meantime, will be wearing them against the Rams Week 16. And, John, it's the same thing with Seattle. It's all about the quarterback, but for much different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at what Sam Darnold, first year in Seattle, and when you look at his career, you have the beginning of his career where he wasn't good at all. Then he goes to Minnesota and just has a career season under Kevin O'Connell. But the thing about Minnesota is that he was really in an ideal situation. When you're throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, you have Aaron Jones behind you, you have a solid offensive line. That makes life a lot easier for a quarterback. So now you're going to Seattle where the offensive line isn't as good. The receiving core is okay, but they don't have anyone like Justin Jefferson. You're throwing to Cooper Kupp, who's kind of trying to save his career. You have a rookie in Torrey Horton, and then, of course, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is good, but again, no Justin Jefferson. So it's a completely different situation for Sam Darnold. We're going to find out if he's a one-year wonder, but if he struggles early, that's going to be a huge concern for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't want to take away anything from what Darnold did last year. He was fantastic. But the 4 years prior to that, he did not have as many touchdown passes in totality as he had all last year. It was such an outlier that it's worth asking, where does he end up when he doesn't have, probably a top 5 OC in the NFL and Kevin O'Connell, probably a top 5 receiving core in the NFL that he had there in Minnesota, and for half the season had like a top 5 offensive tackle duo there. Like, a lot was going on around him to benefit him that just won't be present in Seattle. I need to see their offensive line turn around before I believe it in Seattle. And I need to see Sam Darnold do it again when he doesn't have this elite situation before I believe it as well. And especially the biggest thing that I keep going back to is he was great down the football field last season. They do not have fast receivers in Seattle. Those are 4-6 wide receivers in Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't know where the downfield production is coming from now that they traded away DK Metcalf.
Our last team, the Arizona Cardinals, and all 4 of these teams are pretty close in odds. Everybody has a 5-1 or shorter chance to win this division. For the Cardinals, could be a prove-it year for Kyler Murray. Probably is, Breech, because they've got that dead cap money that gets sliced in half after this season that falls right off. So if he does not perform, could this be it?
It really does feel like this is a prove-it year for Kyler Murray. If there's 2 quarterbacks I feel like we're always having that conversation about every year, it's Trevor Lawrence in the AFC, Kyler Murray in the NFC, where they play just well enough where you're thinking, well, the following season is going to be their breakthrough year. And when you look at what the Cardinals did last season, the offense wasn't bad. They were kind of middle of the pack, but they fell apart kind of going the back stretch of the year. And so if you look at the Cardinals offense, overall, they have some great weapons, Trey McBride, James Conner, but it's about Kyler Murray, and it's about his ability to build some chemistry with his receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Zay Jones, Michael Wilson. But the bottom line is he has to take that next step, and that next step is getting the Cardinals to the playoffs, maybe winning a playoff game. This team spent a lot of capital rebuilding that defense, so the defense should be good. If the offense is also good, this could be a surprise playoff team in 2025.
Yeah, I do think this offense, the up and down nature is what I worry about, because they have some high highs, but then also some low lows. And I'm looking at this defense. Can they win the games when they have some of those lows? Can they still sneak out 1 or 2 of those duds where Kyler Murray's not on his A game, when the rapport might not be there with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because I think they might be able to. I want to see what this defense looks like with a pass rush. Completely revamp this front 7, completely revamp this defensive line. It's going to have some teeth this year. So a team that was top 5 in blitz rate last year, they may revert back to what Jonathan Gannon was doing in Philly when he was like bottom 10 in blitz rate, because he had actually a front 7, and they did a lot of different things defensively. They didn't just play zone all day because they couldn't trust those corners on an island. I think that's going to change, and I think Jonathan Gannon's true colors are going to show. The fact that he's gotten above average play out of a mediocre defense. Now they have the talent. I think they might be able to win games just on the backs of this D.
And they should be able to win games early, because their first 6 games, Saints, Panthers, 49ers, Seahawks, Titans, and Colts. That's probably as easy of a first 6-game stretch as anybody in the entire league. Only 1 divisional game in week 1. It's 49ers Seahawks in the NFC West at 4 Eastern time. We will have the Cards at Saints and the Rams hosting the Texans on CBS and Paramount Plus.